Hi, I'm Sarak, and welcome to today's topic, bouncing back from failure. We all suffer from a fear of failure, a having failed, a not wanting to fail again, but we also suffer from illusions, making things up, and fear is one of those things. So as important as it is, it's not actually real, and we're going to prove that to you today. The most important thing to know and understand about failure is that there's failure of events that you've experienced, and then there's fear of failure, which is the fear of something happening in the future. Now, the peculiar thing about both of these things is that one is in the past and one is in the future. Neither of them is right now. So it's not something that is an actual fear in front of you, but something that you're ruminating about from the past, something that you're anticipating and anxious about in the future. But ultimately, fear of failure is not a present real thing. Many scientists, neuroscientists, talk about brain 1.0, and that is essentially that our mind is wired to protect us. And so it's looking for danger. And because there is no more imminent danger, fortunately, in our current modern life, the mind is still wired to look for it. And this is why it very often takes little things and amplifies them into big things. It's just doing its job. Fear of failure is one of these things. It's just something that could happen, but it hasn't happened yet. So what you're afraid of is really just the thought of it. Next is the social conditioning. We're all raised to fear making a mistake. A mistake is the worst thing you can make. We're raised with fears of falling and hurting ourselves. And when we're in the playground, we're raised with fear of what will happen if we don't behave this way or live according to the rules. There's just a lot of fear in our environment growing up. And then it's a challenge, of course, to rewire ourselves to come out of it. But it's possible, and we're here to do that just now. One of these conditioned fears is living for outcomes. So we're told to make a plan, live towards that plan, compare what is happening to what we think should be happening, and that's really where most of our frustration comes from. We're always at odds, always in resistance to what is happening. So we're not really enjoying the journey at all. We're always focused on the outcome. And as a result of that, we get disappointed. We get upset because life happens differently. There's always twists and turns. There's always the unforeseen. And so if we're just focused on outcomes, a lot of fear and anxiety starts to build up. This failure thing becomes a big monster. And then we're putting so much pressure on ourselves for that one moment to mean everything, to bring us everything we've ever desired. And if it falls short, which it usually does because our expectations are not aligned with the reality, or they're not aligned with the flow of life, but rather they just exist in our head, then we get into the situation where we then interpret the situation as some kind of failure. So really our only choice here is to learn to come out of the controlling mind, out of the projections and expectations, and work with what's there moment by moment. Many of the greatest inventions were discovered by accident, by scientists and engineers who were open enough to recognize, well, maybe there's something else here because things weren't going the way they expected them to. One of the other big fears is regrets from the past. This is where we amplify things that have already happened and we linger on them. We just play them through over and over in our heads. We try to imagine what we would do differently, what we should have done if it happens again. No two moments happen again the same way. It's being open and receiving and observant to what is happening. That's how we collect the constraints of the situation. From there, we can actually take action.